What's happening, guys? It's Blacksmith here. Going to be talking about a topic that's very interesting, I've become known for, and that is betting against public underdogs. Going to cover what a public underdog is, when you should bet them, so how to handicap to determine if it is a play that you want to take, pass, or the third option, which is taking the public underdog, which I don't do very often, but there are some specific circumstances where that is actually a good move to make. If you don't know who I am, my name's Ben. I founded Blacksmith Bets probably about 18 months ago, just documenting my journey from quitting my job, becoming a professional gambler. Things have gone well. I'm in Bali. This is where I live now. I've been here nearly 2 months, made that move after becoming a successful professional gambler, starting the business, and just because I could. Lifestyle's better here, money's good, everything is on point. So we're gonna go over the specifics about this because it's very misunderstood. People do know me for this, but they don't really understand the topic itself. So I always get questions about this. So if you want to know a bit more about what we do about this, because I do go into detail with analysis in the free group, go to the link in the description, the Telegram group. I post free plays there every day and my analysis, and we recap our stats as well. So go have a look in there. So let's get into it. So what is a public underdog? So a public underdog is simple. It's an underdog that the majority of bets are placed on from the public. So you have two types of money in the market. You have sharp money and then you have square money. Sharps are professional gamblers like me. How do you know when they're betting on something? Well, there will be a higher handle. The handle means total money bet. So the total money laid, that will be higher than the number of total bets. So that means there's less bets placed, but a larger amount of money, because professionals bet more money than the average person, a lot more. Then you've got the square money, the dumb money. For the most part, it's the majority of money that's in the market, the majority of bets that are being placed. And you can see if there's a very exaggerated split where there will be a large number of bets, but the handle, the total money bet, will be lower. That obviously means there's a lot of bets, but they're smaller bets, which is what most people who are just your average punters will do. So, a few things that we need to understand are absolute truths at the moment. 97% of people lose money betting. The majority of people who bet in the market are losers. They're losing sports bettors who lose money. Only 3% are profitable long term. 3%. And that's 3%, probably only 1.5% of those are actually making a good return, like what I would consider a good return, which is, over 6%. Most professionals make 3 to 6%. So we know that the majority of money in the market, the majority of bets are going to be poor. So this is the way that most people try and bet. Most people, let's take football as an example. Most people try and bet the most likely outcome. They bet the favourite, and do you know what? They don't even do any research. They just say, I feel like this team is better, so I'm going to bet them. They do that, and they bet with feeling. So if like 97% of people are betting this way, they're taking the most likely outcome, they're betting the favourite, the team that should win most of the time, how can a bookie make money? Have you ever thought about that? If everyone bets, let's say you have Man City, versus Southampton. How does the bookie make money if everyone is cashing betting on Man City? Well, there's really one thing that they can do, and it is extremely effective, and that is they will make the odds minus EV. So they make the odds minus expected value. Expected value minus expected value means they're not profitable long term. Positive expected value means you will make money long term. So they will give you an odds that is going to lose you money long term, but you probably won't understand what plus EV or minus EV is. You won't know if you're getting good odds or not. Everything in sports betting is about the odds. You can go to the Action Network's bet calculator, search it on Google, and you can see the percentage for any odd. You need to understand this. If you're betting something, you should know, that's got a 60% chance of hitting, and then you should only back it if you believe there's like a 65 or more % chance, because we want to account for human error, so we're going to add a bit for 5% buffer on there. So if you don't know that, first of all, you're doing it wrong, because the odds is the only thing that matters. Professionals bet odds, amateurs pick winners. Picking winners is stupid, it's not the way to do it. Obviously, you've got to figure out what's more likely to hit, and you want to be betting on things that are going to win, but long-term profit is all that matters. And the reason I say it's stupid just trying to pick winners is because this is how people get stuck in a 10-team parlay. So if we're talking about analysing a football match, for example, if you put 10 teams in a parlay, even if they're very big favourites, statistically one of those teams will get a red card, and your bet is probably ruined by something you can't control. So you may think that you're getting good odds on Man City versus Southampton, but you're probably not. You know, I don't know what the odds are the last time they played, but it's probably like 1.30 or something, which is saying Man City win 8 out of 10 times. Southampton will probably draw that game 1 or 2 times out of 10 from Man City putting a weak lineup out and trying to get by without really having their best team there, from a red card, from some fluke, you know, stupid stuff where they just can't get the ball in the net, which happens more often than you would think with teams, by the way. They may get tons of shots, but they can't get one in. And people don't think like this. They just think, oh, Man City are going to win. I'm going to bet that regardless of what the odds are. The odds are the only thing that matters. So that's how most people bet. The reason why public underdog is such a big signal is because most people bet the favourite. They're risk averse. Humans are risk averse by nature. They want to bet on something that's a sure thing. The one exception is when people try and bet on something with a long shot, but that's still being, you know, with high odds, that's still being risk averse when the odds are really high, like a big acca, because they only commit a small amount of money to it. But the public underdog is a unique situation because you're getting the side that the public thinks is going to win anyway, but at a much better price, at high odds. So you might be saying, Ben, this doesn't make any sense. You know, I thought you want to bet the value. I thought you want to bet the side where the odds are favourable. This is true for the most part, but the one exception, probably a couple of others, but the main exception is public underdogs. Let's have a look at last night's game. So last night we had Brighton played Liverpool. We cashed on Brighton. We took Brighton to win 2.65 decimal odds. I think they went as high as 2.80 pre-match actually. So you could have got even better line value than that. Why did we bet that? You know, Liverpool, obviously they're the better team. They've also actually got a better head-to-head record. They have been beating Brighton when they've been playing. Only by a goal or so. It's been close games, but people often try and analyse football or analyse a sport and try and look at the actual stylistic or the actual matchup and the actual nuance of the game, and they ignore the odds. The odds is the biggest indicator. It's like a massive neon sign pointing to this team are going to lose in this case, because the bookies were giving you 2-1 odds, you know, 3.0 decimal odds on Liverpool. Liverpool were obviously the better team. No one's going to argue that. So why would the bookies give you such an amazing line on Liverpool? Not only that, I don't even need to look at the betting splits to know that 90% of people bet Liverpool. But I did check it before, and it was like 85, 86%. I posted them in the Telegram group as well. So you got 86%, 80-odd%, whatever it was, betting on Liverpool at 2-1. So if Liverpool win, the bookies get absolutely smoked. They lose a ton of money. They get absolutely decimated. Now, I do understand sometimes the bookies will give you a free winner. Like if it's Cheltenham, they'll boost a couple of horses and give you a free win to make you confident, so you bet more the rest of the event. But we can't account for this. We don't know when the bookies are going to do that, so I take that out of the equation. So all I know is the bookies are giving a crazy price on Liverpool. They're confident that Brighton are going to win. I know that as well because the draw line was set very high. I think it was set at 3.75 decimal and was going higher. If it was going down and it was around about 3.50 or less, that is a good indicator that the bookies think it's going to draw. So not only did they think Liverpool lose, they think Brighton are going to win. And that's why they were so confident. Because if they thought it could be a draw, any team, especially a team like Liverpool, can sneak a little goal in. So they were saying we're quite confident Brighton are going to win. So I could have made a bet just based on that. The bookies spend millions and millions of dollars a day making sure their lines are accurate, especially for more popular games. They've got an army of analysts. You know, I'm not so arrogant to think that I always know better than all of these professionals, all of this money invested. You know, they've got a far bigger operation than me. So I'm going to use their data against them. You know, not really against them. I'm going to use it against the average punter, because really that's who I'm competing against, not the bookies. The bookies don't care if I cash, you know, because they're going to make money from 80, 90% of everyone else betting on Liverpool. So I'm actually betting on the side that the bookie are banking on. So we're using the bookie's data against them. We're betting on the same team that the bookie thinks is going to win, but we need to do our own analysis, the third thing. So what do we see when we looked at the analysis? Well, we saw, one, Liverpool don't really need to win the game. Going to put a weak lineup out. If you look at the previous head-to-heads, games are very close. Okay, Liverpool are winning, but they're only winning by 1 goal. Close games, and Brighton are scoring against them as well. Brighton have home advantage. Home advantage is a thing. You know, it's worth a goal or so, depending on the team and the circumstances. But it really was the bookies line that was like the big neon sign that was telling me this is going to be a good play. My other tipster, the footy tipster, also agreed, and another guy, Bays, who's on my team, also agreed and took draw no bet. So we actually had multiple bets placed on them, and they all cashed. But someone asked me today, you know, surely the value's on Liverpool at those odds, you know. And yes, they could have won, and the bookies don't always get it right. But you've got to ask yourself, why are they giving us such a good line? And it's because they were very confident Brighton are not going to win. So it's a trap, and you want to avoid these traps in sports betting. Public underdogs are the biggest traps. Now, the one time I would take them is if I can find a reason why I think the bookie has got it wrong. And I can understand that and reverse engineer it, but then I need to accept that maybe they're seeing something that I'm not. I'll give you an example of this. Jan Blachowicz versus Carlos Ulberg a couple of weeks ago. One of the best bets I think I've ever placed, and it lost. Jan Blachowicz to win by decision at a massive 6-1 odds. I think he won that fight. I think most people thought he won the fight. His line was set way too high, and Ulberg won, but Jan got completely robbed. And the bookie's liability was very high. Is there corruption involved in that? Who knows? But all I say is that was an amazing bet. I said this is like the line of the century. It's a gift from God. Jan was the better fighter, fighting at championship level as well. I don't know how he lost that fight. Most of the strikes that were landed on him, he blocks. They were like leg kicks. They were tiny attacks being blocked. But anyway, we're not going to go into the details of that. But he had the majority of bets on him. And I looked at the data and I concluded the books were valuing age too much. And in MMA, the books really do put a huge emphasis on the age of a fighter. And Jan had a very, he's older. Yes, he's been active. Ulberg was undefeated. The bookies, I think, use an algorithm sometimes for MMA because it's quite a complicated sport to understand, and they got it wrong. And they started realising this, and they started crashing Jan's line faster than money was coming in on him, which you can see just through using a website like Odds Portal to have a look at the line movement. So they realised their mistake and tried to correct it, but it was too late. Luckily for them, the judges made a terrible decision, and they robbed him. So the bookies go home. But I understood that that was a risk. You know, there's a reason why the bookies have given this line out. Maybe I've missed something. Maybe Ulberg is going to run through him. I can give you another example of public underdogs working out. You know, with Jan Blachowicz, that's an example where you want to take the public underdog. Even though it lost, that was still a good bet. But with Moran Santos this weekend, I gave it as the free play out on here. So if you're watching, you cashed, show some love in the comments. But it cashed easily. Everyone was on Yusuf. I said Yusuf was a trap. They had I think it was 80% of bets were on Yusuf at plus money. And it was, I don't know why. Actually, I do know why, because Santos underperformed in his last fight. But when you get a real professional fighter who's got a very good record, like he has, you know, he hasn't had a loss, that's very embarrassing. They're going to come back better. He was also at his natural weight. Even though it was short notice, Yusuf was moving up in weight because he keeps getting rocked and hurt. He didn't get rocked and clipped as badly. I think he did eat a massive head kick though. But it was obvious that Santos was having, one, he was bigger and he was having more impact on his strikes. And he easily won that fight. He dominated. We cashed. But the big indicator for me is when I saw how many bets were on Yusuf, that is what made me look into the fight in more detail. I was like, before I started capping the UFC card, I was like, that's interesting. And there's a massive split here and there's a big public underdog. What are people missing? And then I watched the tape and I was like, I don't understand this at all, you know? And again, people will just automatically bet the favourite. They'll put them in parlays and the bookies will make a ton of money from it. So this has been a very brief overview, and you might not even understand some of the things that I'm explaining. It took me a long time to understand what a public underdog is, and how to bet them, when to not bet them. This is something you need to practice. I can tell you the theory about sports betting as much as I can, but it's actually the practice, getting reps in, that makes the difference. And you should be doing it with a very small stakes until you learn how to do it. So be responsible, don't bet more than you can afford to lose. Losses will happen. No cappers say this. I never see cappers saying you can still lose. You can 100% still lose. It's sports betting, we all know the risks. Don't kid yourself. This is a hard way to make money. For me, I'm very lucky that I managed to do it. You need to have a decent bankroll as well if you really want to make serious money doing this, but that will come in time. First, you've got to learn how it works. You've got to learn from someone who knows what they're talking about and who explains things, which is what we do in the Telegram group. So get in there. I'm going to drop another free play later on. Our record at the moment is, for free plays, is 13 wins, 3 losses, 1 refund. Pretty amazing record. So get in that Telegram group. Get tailing the free plays, get into VIP if you want to get signed up and you want to lock our bets in, because we're going to have a lot out today. I'm about to go and upload this video and handicap for the day. So by the time you're watching this, I'm already going to have plays out. So ping me a message through Telegram if you want to get involved on that. Probably going to have some big bets again this weekend. I've smashed every UFC card apart from one since I've been here. So 5 cards, absolute domination. Last week, every bet from the syndicate hit, and we had a high odds bet as well at 2.90 decimal odds, so almost 2-to-1 odds. Flew in, very nice win. When it comes to who you're following in this game, you need to be following someone who's explaining why they're making the plays and who posts their stats. If you look in our group, we've been posting our stats every week for over a year now, win, lose or draw. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. Start learning what public underdogs are. Get on Google, get on ChatGPT, ask it, start learning for yourself, and start cashing, betting against the public.